I'm going to talk about something very, very serious stuff. Very serious. Okay, hands in the air, those of you who have heard about GDPR. Well, that's good. Okay. Most of you probably are engineers. Raise your hand, engineers. Is there anything else than engineers in there? No. So let me start with that. I come from a very different discipline than you guys do. My discipline is not about zeros and ones. It's not about yes and no. My discipline is almost uncodable because it's law. And in law, it's about maybe. It's not about zeros and ones today. But that is going to change. If you look at legal tech today, every single country in the world are trying to change their legislation so we can code it. Because it is codable, most of it. It's going to give less work to the lawyers and even more work. The agenda when I'm speaking is the same every time. What, why, and how. And this is me. Please find me on LinkedIn. Connect me. When you come from this discipline and you want to talk about GDPR, that's quite hard. Because in your mind, GDPR is just a hassle. It's not an opportunity. It's just another nightmare. Where I come from, we all have to do sales. So this is also a sales pitch. Even though I'm the head of legal and compliance, we all do sales. Do you feel like you're doing sales when you're out working for a client? Do you feel it? Do you actually see that the way you are explaining your work for the client and trying to maybe help them with innovation, and GDPR is going to be one of those things. The EU says keep calm and be ready. I'm not so sure. Anybody knows what this is? Nobody. This is 2 different inaugurations in the Vatican of the Pope. Look at the difference in this picture. 2005, I don't see any, there's one small phone down there in the right corner, but look at 2013. It is unbelievable. Anyone you have an iPhone? So, you go into your phone, go into settings. And in settings, there are privacy settings down on a little bit down there. And when you click that, you see something called, I don't know what this is in English, but it's location-based services or something. Yeah? You have that? Okay, you click that. Then you go all the way down, and then you have something called system services. And then you go all the way down again, and we have done quite a bit of clicking now. Yeah, it's all the way at the bottom there. Oh yeah, there you have it, system services. And then you roll even further down, and then you see something called relevant places, and you have to log on if you have iOS 11. You have this, I think this one, significant locations. Click that one, and then it probably asks you to log on. Well, that's a good idea. Now, please ask yourself, would you give this to your spouse? Would you? Seriously, do you know what this is doing? This little thing is tracking absolutely everything I'm doing every day. Where I am, when I'm at, this knows when I go to the office, it knows when I comes home, it knows where I've been during the day, because I haven't turned that stuff off. This is scary stuff, people. Or don't you agree? Do you think this is okay? No, we don't think it's okay. That's why the EU have said this is no longer okay. We cannot accept that the 5 biggest companies in the world are collecting huge amounts of information that we don't understand. Because we don't actually get the grasp of how the amount of information which is in here. And there's one more app on your iPhone which is even worse actually. It's a Apple app you can't delete. Health. You have that one? If you go to sources, if you open that app and you look at sources, you go in there, I see in my phone I have 2 sources. I have a Nike app because I like to work out sometimes, though it doesn't look like that. And then I have my own phone. This phone is registering what I'm physically doing every day, as long as it's on my body. And do you know what they're doing with this information? Does anybody know what they are doing with this information? They're selling it. Because this is how they make money. They sell this information to companies that want you to buy their goods. This is probably okay. We don't have a problem with this. But when they start to gather huge amounts of information, I mean huge amounts, then we start to get into trouble. Imagine what Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Apple, Google, imagine what they know about you. Imagine, do you know, if you go into your computer and try to find out what is Google actually logging about me? It's logging everything you're searching for. And a lot more. So now somebody said, now this needs to end. It needs to stop. We don't mean that we need to stop the gathering of the information. As long as you give your consent. You need to be informed. So what did the EU do? They said, okay, let's make a regulation. Why did I put that one? And a regulation. When EU makes regulations, you know how that looks like? This is the way you would probably start this project in your company. I don't want to do this talk. This is a nightmare. I'm not here to do the legal talk about this. I'm here to just wake you up so that you actually think about this when you go home and go back to work and look at and you work with your clients. You need to have this in the back of your mind at all times. Then you're probably thinking, this guy is crazy because we're in Sri Lanka. What has Sri Lanka to do with EU? Where's your customers? They're in the EU. And as long as your customer is in the EU, you need to be compliant with the European regulation. That's kind of scary. And you know the time limit for this? 25th of May, next year. And that's just the time limit when we need to be compliant. The question is, what's going to happen after that? Because this is us today. We're lazy. We don't care. We just let it lie. It's okay. They can just gather my data. I don't do anything wrong. I don't do anything illegal, so probably because it's not illegal, then I don't care if people is gathering this information. Maybe we're starting to get desperate. But there's somebody out there who's greedy. And that's the people who are gathering these data. And okay, we can let them keep on doing this. So the EU have said, we need to make some rules for everybody. If you want to gather information, there has to be some basic individual rights that we all need to be compliant with if we want to gather information. Oh, there's the grid picture. I was too fast. So let's look at this general data protection regulation. This is not how you're supposed to make a PowerPoint presentation. So this is actually a joke. The reason why I put this up there is because look at the amount of text. And this is just a small part of the introduction to the regulation. Just a small part. And there is a huge amount of words. It's actually unbelievable. It's so much words. It's 156 pages of very small font, which a lot of you people are going to have to read in a very, very short while. Imagine being compliant by 25th of May. I don't think that's, no. It's going to be hard. So, let's look at the individual rights. I'm going to start with number 4. The right to be informed. What does that mean? It means that everybody has to give their consent before anyone can start gathering your personal information. Do you know what personal information is? Your name, of course. Your address. You're right, this is like church. We're trying, it's like church. It's very quiet. But you know, where you drive your car, what you are wearing, as long as it's attached to your identity, your name, it's personal information. When you're online surfing, it's personal information, your IP address. When you're on your fingerprint, it's all personal information. And if somebody wants to gather that after the 25th of May, they need to have your consent. And it's not enough to put a box up there and say, and you put the X in there and say, if you want to use our services, it's already clicked. You just have to say, okay, this is not good enough anymore. And they cannot give you 58 pages of, you need to read through 58 pages to understand a little bit of what they're doing. Now they have to do it in clear speech. They have to write out in a way that everybody can understand. We are going to gather your data because we are going to sell them, use them to sell goods. Okay, thank you. And believe me, when you're going to get these questions after the 25th of May, every service you want to use, everyone has to get these consents in again. Because most of the consents which are out there today, they're not good enough. Imagine that job. It is a huge job for every company working with clients in the EU. It will be very interesting to hear how Facebook is going to solve this, and Google, and Apple. Facebook is here, I don't know if they're in here, but it is going to be very interesting to see how are we actually going to solve this. And then, we have number 2, the right to be forgotten. That's even more scary, because that means that you, at any given point in time, can withdraw your consent to every application you're using online. You can say, no, I don't want you to handle my data anymore. And let's do it even a little bit more difficult. Look at number 3, the right to transfer. That actually means that if I want to bring my data from one vendor to another, let's take banks as an example. If you have a regular Sri Lankan bank that is actually delivering bank accounts to European customers, I think they exist. Do you have to be Sri Lankan to have a bank account in Sri Lanka? No. If you have one European customer, you have a problem. One European customer, and that customer says, I want to move my data from this bank to another digitally. How are we going to do this? In Norway, this is now a nightmare for the banks, because I can go to my bank and say, okay, all my account information, everything regarding money, regarding everything that's in there, even my account number, I want to bring it with me digitally to another bank. Do you think that's possible? Today it's not possible. It's going to cost a fortune. Now maybe you're starting to see why this is relevant for you, not just for me. It's relevant for me because I can give advice and get paid to give advice on this, but it's even more relevant for you because all the IT systems you are handling has to be rebuilt. Are we going to manage to do this before the 25th of May? Yeah. That's going to be tough. Does any one of you know the penalty if you don't do this right? The penalty is 4% of your business overall worldwide revenue per time you're breaking the regulation. Do the math. We're all broke. It's over. It's amazing. These fines that are now given, 4% of overall business revenue in your business every time you're doing something wrong. Every time you are actually using somebody's data and don't have the right consent, for example. The impact here is huge, people. And the impact is huge for you because you need to do something. You need to help your clients with this. Anybody who has bank clients? Government? And this is the fun part here is that this also applies to government. That's going to be interesting when Norway has to pay 4% of their total revenue every time they're doing something wrong. That's going to be so much money. I think maybe the Data Protection Agency is going to be the richest agency in Norway. Probably everybody's going to work there in 5 years. And then there's the right to access. You have the right to, at any given point in time, access your information. All the information. Apple has done a good job because they show you the data they're gathering. Is everybody doing this? When you look at the applications you're using, do you think you can go online and check what Google is registering about you? Yeah, Google they're trying to do a good job. What is Instagram doing? What is Facebook doing? What are they all doing? This is going to have a major impact on how they have to build and rebuild their solutions. Of course, there's the right to correct information. If something's wrong, you can go in, you can access it, you can check it. If something's wrong, they need to fix it. For example, I was in the hospital a few years ago, and I had surgery in my leg. When you have surgery in your leg, you have bandages on your leg. And my leg was lying like this, up in the air, and the doctor came in. Quite an arrogant prick. He came in, he looked at me, and he said, "Well, sir, how's your back?" My back? Yeah, my back is okay, actually. I'm kind of sore, but maybe I can have another pillow. You don't want to ask me about my leg? He said, "What's wrong with your leg? Are you blind? Look, I have the bandages on my leg." And he said, "This is strange, because on this in this journal, it says that you did some surgery in your back." I said, "How is that possible?" It's just people. We do wrong things every day. Everybody does that. So I tried to find out what happened. How was that possible? What actually happened is that they have a system where they read into a microphone, because doctors don't like to write, just like lawyers. Lawyers have secretaries, doctors have secretaries, and they have microphones. So they read in, and the stuff they read in comes out as text. But the problem is that when the doctor read in this, the software misinterpreted the name of the diagnosis. So it said I had a problem with my back. This is now 4 years ago. I visited my doctor just before I came here. And do you know what was inside that system? And this is crazy, because they have no idea what they're going to do. And I said, you still haven't changed this. I've sent you an email. I call you. I have tried to get you to fix this for 3-4 years. They said, it's impossible. I said, it's impossible? How is it impossible? You're on the computer now. Can't you just change it? No. The secretary does that. I don't go into the computer doing stuff like that. So I need my secretary. I said, okay, that means in 2 years when I come back, still going to be there. And if they can't fix it then, that's going to be expensive. That's going to be 4% of the Norwegian state budget as penalty. I'm looking forward to seeing that. It should be like in the US where the penalty with the damages goes to you, not to the government. So that could be an easy way to get rich. Okay. You even have the right to oppose treatment. So let's say you have a client that calls in and says, okay, it's like this. I know you have this information about me in your CRM system because I went online, I checked it. You have a very good solution where I could go in and I can check and access my information. But actually, I don't want you to use it. You can keep it. It's okay. But you can't use it. For example, for sending me commercial ads or for sending me any kind of information. It's okay that you have it because I'm a customer, so I understand that. But I want to oppose treatment. Do you have any idea of how that's going to impact on the architecture of the IT systems we have? The impact is huge. Are you getting to see this, guys? The impact is going to be huge. And it's going to be huge on everything we're doing every day. You even have the right to restricted treatment. And now, you even have the right to be notified if something went wrong. So let's say the company discovers they gave the information to a company they weren't legally obliged to give the information to. Then they have 72 hours to notify you that there is a breach. To notify you and notify the government so they can get the 4% fine for what they've done. You think this is going to happen? No. This is probably not going to happen, but the individual rights are, this is life-changing. This is going to change your lives, both as individuals and the way you're working. And the impact is going to have on your daily life. Does any one of you actually, any one of you started a GDPR project in your company? Anyone? Good. Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, most of you probably don't know if you've started a project because it's like the slide I showed you in the beginning where you have a management and your team and you have the board and you have and everybody's talking and nobody has any idea what to do. And the people they need to ask is you guys. Because it's you that are going to do it. He's not the legal advisor. He's just going to help you to understand what you need to do. But it's you guys who are going to have to do it. So I have to do this. Hands in the air. Those of you who think this is a good idea for society. Yeah, they're coming. And this is interesting because this is a total change in the way we think and the way we behave. If you have asked people about this 5 years ago, they would say, I don't care. How bad can it be? How much information can they have? It is a huge amount of information. Do you know what kind of information you have in your company? These are just some of the basic things that we need to do before we start the project. This is like the pre-project of the huge project. We need to map the information. What kind of information do we actually handle? And that's quite interesting, because when you look at what kind of information, you mean all information? For example, is anyone of you hiring people? HR? When you get all the people who are applying for the position, they send in their CVs, then they send in a lot of stuff. You get their CVs. What do? You keep them in the drawer, or you keep them on your computer, because maybe in 6 months we're going to have a new position, and it's good to have some of these people lying there in my drawers. I can take them up and maybe call them back in. No, that doesn't work anymore. You actually need to destroy everything. This is absolutely illegal, even for a Sri Lankan company, as long as you sell services to the EU. Are you starting to get the impact of this? What about in Norway? I know a lot of companies, they actually collect information about every person who has worked in the company as long as the company has existed. Working agreements and everything. And one of the reasons we're doing this in our business, ICT, is because if we're going to get sold, then there's going to be held a due diligence, and in the due diligence, you need to show that you have all the working agreements, so they can go in and check, okay, what did you do with that developer? You said, okay, that's everything he did or she did is the property of the company. Good. But now, that's not legal anymore. When the person quit, you need to actually throw those papers. You need to delete that information. This is going to get consequences in many areas, even for the companies who are buying your company, because it's not possible anymore to access that information. And in Norway, many companies also, they keep all the information about sick leave. We think that's very interesting. That's very nice to have. This guy, yeah, he was sick 2 times last year. Look at this. And he went to the doctor, and what did the doctor say? Oh my. And the year before that, he was sick 3 times. Maybe we should consider firing him. That's illegal, by the way, in Norway. You can't fire people because they're sick. But now, you can't collect information anymore. It's not relevant. It's not relevant for the business. So then, you need to throw it away. And when you look at the amount of work that needs to be done to actually do something about this, in all areas and all aspects of the business, in HR, in sales. Let's say you talk to a customer, possible customer, 5 years ago. What do? You put them into your CRM system. You have her card, put the information in there. Can you still do that? No, you can't. You need a written consent. You need a written consent to do that. That is astonishing. It's going to be huge. We really don't know the impact this actually is going to have on businesses in the future yet. So if you go back to the why are we doing this? It's because we have the right to privacy. I'm not going to give you this. I just like her. So, we are important because when I say we, I mean the engineers. I don't mean me. I mean you. It's because you are going to do the work. You are going to be the architects, and you are going to be the people who are actually putting this into life. You are the guys who need to understand how you're going to change the systems. I know in our company, when the information we are gathering, my problem is I can't read source code. That's actually very difficult when you're a lawyer to read Java or .NET or Python or whatever it's called. It is a huge problem because I'm not able to go in and check what you're actually doing. What is actually happening down there when you're gathering this information? And what are you doing with it? Are you storing it more than one place? Or where are you sending it? Who are you giving these data to? Are you connecting these data with something? For example, there are applications on the internet with location-based services. And they connect information about you. And they connect it to locations, as we looked at earlier. And then they start to connect this information to even more stuff that you don't know about. That even, I come into the IT development department, and I ask, okay, how are we doing this? What are we actually doing with this data? Yeah, well, we have some algorithms. They're making some, and then we get some information, and then we know some more, and maybe we can predict if you're going to get divorced next year. You're saying, what? Yes, people, there are applications who are doing that. There are applications who are trying to predict if you're going to get sick. There are applications that can tell you you're pregnant before you know it. But you're laughing. This is a true story. This is a guy who has a daughter. She goes to the store, she's buying groceries, and they're registering all the information of what you're buying. And the reason they're doing this is because they want to send you a commercial and say, this week we have this on sale. And then he starts to wonder, why are we getting all this information about stuff for pregnant girls? My girl is 17, she's not pregnant. Are you stupid? But they knew. Because how she was buying groceries, what she was buying. And if that's not scary, I don't know. And the problem is that the way the system is built, it is impossible for me as a lawyer to understand what you've been doing. There's some smart people, made some algorithms, some stuff is happening. Sales and marketing said, yeah, we need to know this. We need to gather this information. We need to put this together. This is going to be so cool. But people, this is uncool. It is actually uncool that your grocery store knows that your daughter is pregnant before you do. Don't you think so? I can see the girls are smiling. That's good. The guys just look very, very disturbed. Have anyone who ever thought about this? That the tree has a value? There's actually a science team in a university. It says there, it's in Calcutta, Michigan State University. They have actually sat down and they've measured how much is it worth. What's the real value? I have no idea how they did that. I have absolutely no idea. And when they did that, did they use any personal information? And this is kind of strange because this is slides we use when we are doing sales. And because I've been thinking about this now for the past 3, 4, 5, 6 months, I think about this all the time. Do they use personal information when they get to this? Where did they get this information from? And the information they get from someone which is that personal, if it's not attached and connected to a person? Yes and no. This is going to be hard. It's going to be hard because we need to sit down and look at all the data we're handling. Not just data regarding persons and people, but also all the data around. Is there any connection? For example, some would say, oh no, our company, we just gather information about the businesses we do business with. Oh yeah, then it's okay. Their address, their phone number, their email addresses, and so forth and so on. But do they have a contact person? Of course they have a contact person. How can you talk to a factory if it doesn't have a person there? Oh my. Suddenly everything is personal data. Because at the moment you connect one person to the factory, then everything is personal information. Everybody likes to talk about robots. I'm not going to talk a lot about robots. But there's a huge discussion going on in Norway now whether when you're talking to a bot online, for example, you're calling your bank and you're starting to ask that bot a question. Oh my, this is a problem. Because every question, the moment the phone is picked up by the bot, then all the data the bot is gathering is personal data. Because it's connected to your phone number. And your phone number is connected to you. Oh my. Have anyone of you heard about citizen salary? That's a cool concept. Because you know, where in the country I come from, 30% of the people in the country is on welfare. That means the people who are working are paying for the people who are on welfare. And how are that going to be sustainable in the future? So the Finns, the Finnish people, they have come up with, they are actually trying this today, giving everybody a salary. Everybody. How many people are in Sri Lanka? 25 million? Imagine that bill. That's going to be expensive. I don't think actually the amount the Finns are using per person is so huge. This is just testing. But it was actually Elon Musk who suggested that this could be a good idea to save society. Because what are people going to do when the bots take over? We don't have to think about that. And you know why? Because we have GDPR. There's going to be work for all of us, the lawyers and the engineers, for years to come. We don't have to worry. We have huge amount of stuff we need to do. Isn't that kind of fun to think about? So what does it give you? I jump on slide because if I start talking about that, I'm going to do that for half an hour, so I can't do that. But this is all about. This is all about transparency. You need to know what people are doing with your information. And the way they do it needs to be according to GDPR, and it needs to be sustainable. And they need to be accountable. They need to look at the governance. They need to have good governance in every project they're doing in their business. And they also means us. So, it needs to be accountable. It needs to be sustainable. And when you think about the impact this is going to have on our lives, when you look at who is going to be the most successful people in businesses in 5 to 10 years, I believe it's the ones that are going to come up with a solution that are going to give me my privacy back. I'm actually willing to pay maybe $100 every month to have a shield, a solution that gives me privacy. So I can decide whether I want to share my data or not. I don't know how much the regular person are willing to pay for this, but I think that this could be interesting market research. This is a business idea for you who can actually make those solutions. I can't. It's just an idea. But how can you make sure that when you're on your computer, when you're on your phone, on your iPad, that nothing is going in and out without me knowing it? Do we even have any idea how big that work is going to be? When I open my phone, I have probably 10, 15, 20, 25 apps open, I don't know. And what are they doing? They are giving away information, changing information back and forth all the time. And you can go in and adjust some of it, but the problem isn't that. The problem is all the information that is going back and forth that you don't know about. So, I thought maybe I would give you some advice in the end. I'm not going to do that. Because I think if this didn't wake you up, I'm sorry, then that means we just fall back on our backs and we say, let everything roll, I don't care. But people, it is your data. It is your life, it's your information, and it's up to you to decide what's going to be done with it. So with that, I say thank you.